Welcome inside the Lions Den here at Peoria High as we get set on a blistery night in Peoria for a Big 12 undefeated showdown here between the 16-2 Peoria High Lions and the visiting 11-8 Richwood Knights. John, both teams come into this game 3-0 in Big 12 conference play. One of those undefeated streaks is going to come to an end tonight.
Yeah, it should be a great game, Brock. Glad we're here inside the Lions Den. Two crosstown rivals with lots of history. The Richwoods, obviously, just a couple years ago, they won a state title. Peoria High with state title aspirations this year. They come in ranked number 2 in the state in Class 3A, 16-2 on the year. They're looking to break that state drought and have lots of weapons to do so this year. We'll see if the Knights can pull off the upset, though.
Yep, absolutely. Like you mentioned, Richwoods certainly looking to do the unthinkable and come into Peoria High's home court and spring an upset tonight. John, what are your keys to the game tonight for both teams, for Peoria High and Richwoods?
Yeah, certainly. So starting for Richwoods, their last game that they played was on December 29th. So it's been a little bit of a big time off for them. So you can't come out with any rust at all. And you also have to handle Peoria High's pressure as well. The Lions love to frustrate teams with their full court press, man-to-man defense, whatever they'll bring at you. Sometimes they'll bring full court man-to-man at the same time. So it'll be really tough for Richwoods to try and deal with that tonight. If they can, though, it could potentially keep it close and end up pull off the win. And for Peoria, it's past the pumpkin. They have 4 playmakers at least on their team, even more potentially. That can really hurt anybody on any given night, starting with Nyasha Rutherford, Denali Craig Edwards, Aaliyah Guyton, Alana Jackson. The list goes on for Peoria High. So just don't be selfish because they have plenty of options. And also respect your opponent as well. Any good basketball coach will tell you that, if you overlook anybody, especially your crosstown rivals, the Knights, who are having a very good year by all means, that's the way to get beat. So you got to respect your opponent, come out and bring it full throttle 100% for all 32 minutes here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, John, and I like what you were mentioning there about spreading the wealth. Aaliyah Guyton, rightfully so, gets a lot of the attention and the headlines when it comes to this Peoria High team, but they are a deep team, they're an experienced team, and that's something that they're going to look to use for the rest of the season and hopefully for a deep tournament run. Certainly,
and lots of good things to watch. It looks like we're going to take a break for our national anthem. We'll be right back here on Clutch Sports Media after the anthem.
Just done with the national anthem here in the Lions Den, getting set for tonight's contest between the Peoria High Lions and the Richwood Knights. We'll get you starting lineups here in just a second as they're being announced. Right now, first for Richwoods. John, what an exciting game this is shaping up to be tonight.
Yeah, definitely, and these are two teams that have already faced off with each other this year back on December 6th. Peoria High beat Richwoods 48-37, so Richwoods, by comparison, is keeping it pretty close with the Lions. How about this for a stat, Brock? And I was doing some math before this game. In Peoria High's wins this year, they've had 16 of them. Their average margin of victory, is 37. So their average is a running clock each night for them that they win. So Richwoods is able to keep it pretty close, relatively speaking. So I think it should be a great one tonight. You always play better in these rivalry games. And the Richwoods Knights, 3-0 in conference play. And like you said at the start of the broadcast, Brock, somebody's unbeaten Big 12 record will come to a close here tonight in the Lions Den.
Certainly something to look out for, John. And you mentioned that high-flying offense that Peoria High wields. In the 18 games they've played this year, they've scored 60 or more, 14 of those in those 18 games, including a 100-point performance against Decatur Eisenhower and a 90-point performance against Manual. So I think the big question, Bo, tonight, John, if this game gets tight late, Peoria High just not used to playing in those types of games yet this year.
Certainly, although they did have one that was particularly of note against Peoria Notre Dame. That was back at the Manual Holiday Tournament. But you're right, Brock. Really, they haven't played in a ton of close games, but the Lions were able to come back and win against Peoria Notre Dame at that Holiday Tournament and win the title 61-54 in the championship game. So these Lions, when the pressure's on, they still can get it done.
All right, we got some starting lineups here. First for Richwoods, we got a guard, number 4, Adriana Barber, a 5'6" junior. Cameron Hyder, number 14, a 5'7" junior guard. Number 15, Lexi Bear, a 6-foot freshman guard. Number 25, Addison Church, a 6'1" junior forward. And number 32, Brenia Hickman, a 5'10" junior forward. And then for Peoria High, number 1, Naisha Rutherford, number 3, Serena Winters, number 11, Aaliyah Guyton, the reigning Big 12 Conference Player of the Year, number 24, Elena Jackson, and number 10, Denali Craig Smith. So those
That'd be Craig Edwards.
Craig Edwards, sorry, excuse me, John. Yes, good catch there. There is Guyton now. There's Rutherford with a nifty. Winters with a nifty little head fake there. Back out to Guyton. She head fakes, gets right to the rim. Nifty little move, leaves it short. Craig Edwards with the board down low. Back out to Guyton in the corner. As she finds Rutherford in the corner for 3 as she gets that one to rattle in here. As Peoria High starting off with a 3-point basket and now turning up that pressure right from the get-go here, John.
Certainly, and boy, how about that last possession there for Peoria High? I'll tell you, Brock, Michi Edwards, the head coach for the Peoria High Lions, is an old-school basketball guy. He loves gritty defense and offensive boards, just like Denali Craig Edwards got there, and she just did right there, setting up Guyton for the 3. But Craig Edwards really just pounding the paint down low, being that junkyard dog in the post, and allowing those second-chance points for the Lions, of which they now have 6.
An Lions team, a big body inside like Craig Edwards, particularly helpful at 6'1" on a team full of, I don't want to say smaller guards, but that's what I'm going to use here for lack of a better term, small guards. You can throw it into the big body in the middle, let her work in the post or find those shooters on the outside, really run the offense through her, free-flowing offense. As we have a stoppage in play here, ball will go back to Peoria High as we've seen that pressure already forcing a turnover for Peoria High. Richwood gives it away, and it leads to a 3 on the other end for Peoria High. Good skip pass there to Rutherford, or to Winters in the corner. Hyder working against Craig Edwards, pulls down the board, and Richwoods now across the timeline looking to get set into their offense for their first basket of the game. And for Peoria, John, I don't know why I keep on saying Peoria Notre Dame. For Richwoods here, who's the offense got to come from tonight?
Well, for Richwoods, I think it mostly starts with Cameron Hyder, their junior combo guard. It's a unanimous All-Big 12 first-team selection last year, so I think it starts with her, although they can get some points, especially from their freshman guard, Lexi Bear, who had 17 in their win versus Rock Island. That was back at the State Farm Holiday Classic, so great to see contributions from the underclassmen like Bear. And it's clear that the Knights and head coach Todd Hersey trusts her a lot this year.
As you see Craig Edwards there, unable to get that one to go from the outside. Good hustle by Rutherford to corral the board. And now Craig Edwards to the line for her first attempt at the free throw line tonight. Foul is on 25 for Richwoods. That's Church, her second, team second. And what, as you mentioned, not only a good matchup between the players on the court, John, but a good matchup on the sidelines between these head coaches, Todd Hersey from Richwoods and Michi Edwards from Peoria High, both members of the 200 win club here. And Hersey with a state title that he won in 2018 with Richwoods. Really the only thing Michi Edwards missing from his resume, John.
Certainly, and again, something we talked about before this game tipped off. That's something that he really wants this year. Last year, the Lions fell to Morton in the regional final, so kind of tough luck as Bear gets one to go there for the Knights. But anytime you face Morton, typically a very strong team, one of the best in the state perennially, it's just kind of bad luck, So we'll see who the Lions will draw in their regional this year, but they certainly have the talent to be the team to beat in their regional, whoever they may end up playing. But like you said, Edwards in his 17th year, 200 wins. Todd Hersey has had 2 different stints here at Richwoods, and also with 200 wins as well, 265 to be exact.
So a couple of very illustrious programs. And I feel like, John, how many times have you heard that the last couple of years, these really good schools from Peoria make it into the 3A playoffs, make a little bit of a run, and then they run into that buzzsaw that is Morton, and they've just been really tough to play and tough to beat in that state tournament.
Well, certainly, and if you're a fan of just Peoria area basketball, obviously, it's still good to see the Peoria area teams being represented in the state title, as Morton has been for quite some time. Obviously, it's been a slightly down year for the Potters this year, but it was a great article from Adam Duvall written by the Peoria Journal-Star saying that, Peoria basketball is just some of the best in the whole state. You got lots of teams up in Chicago, and of course they get lots of attention, but you got programs like Peoria High, Peoria Notre Dame, Richwoods. Again, all those teams are undefeated in Big 12 play so far this year, and it's just a meat grinder of a schedule when you play basketball around here.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't sleep on some of these so-called smaller schools in central Illinois there, as Hickman, working down low, gets the basket to go for Richwoods, as Guyton there looking for the foul, unable to get it to go. No foul called. And now there is one out top. On it looks like they might get Hannah on Bear out there. Lexi Bear out front. Excuse me, that's going to be on 14, Cameron Hyder, her first, team's third. 7-4 early for Peoria High. Couple three-point baskets from Peoria High, good by Rutherford and Guyton, and then added on a free throw by Craig Edwards. For Richwoods, baskets by number 15, Lexi Bear, and number 32, Brenaya Hickman, make up the scoring here, as Richwoods set to get the ball back, looking to tie the game up here. As you see Guyton with that pressure out front on Hyder, making things difficult. Same thing with Ruffin out front, who has checked in for Peoria High. As Bayer unable to get that one to go. Now Guyton's got it in transition. She drives on Bayer. Nice little up and under strong move there by Guyton. And she's up to 5, and Peoria High's up 9-4 here early. So they've got the press going here, looking to speed up Richwoods a little bit.
That was a great bucket there from Guyton on the other end. Kind of hesitated, sized up her defender, and then went right up to the hoop. Again, with a left hand, obviously we'll assume it's her offhand. Don't know for sure if she's a lefty or a righty. We'll probably get the answer to that later in this game. But most people are right-handed, me not being one of them. But anytime you can make it look easy with the offhand in transition, that's why she has 11 D1 offers. Yeah,
certainly a great player, coming off a 20-point per game, 3.5 assists, 3 steal per game campaign last year. Just a sophomore. Really crazy to think that she has 2 years of eligibility left, John. And how much better she can get in that time.
Yeah, certainly. Again, she has lots of Power 5 offers. I mean, you look at the list: Mississippi State, Ohio State, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan State, DePaul, Nebraska, Mizzou, Bradley. So it could be huge for the Braves if they could land the local product in Aaliyah Guyton. Obviously, her father, AJ, was a member of the Bradley Braves. Was a huge piece for them for quite some time. Ended up playing pro ball and now doing some great things as is Nyesha Rutherford, excuse me.
Her second triple of the game there, John. But no, yeah, back to AJ Guyton. Certainly, known for as well in college in Indiana on those great Bob Knight teams. As we have a 3-4 Peoria Richwoods, that's number 11, Alyssa Ross, the junior guard off the bench. knocks in her first basket of the game. And Guyton with another basket there. 14-7 now, Peoria High out in front as Guyton's got trapped there as Ruffin jumps the passing lane on the steal, and she lays it in. As you see that press giving Richwoods all sorts of problems early as Hyder got caught in that no man's land, the dead corner, forced to give it up, and Ruffin with a nice play and run out in transition.
Yeah, that's just a textbook trap there for Peoria High. Obviously, that's the best spot of the court to trap because you can't go back across the timeline and you get called for a backcourt violation. You're by the sideline, so you can't really go in front. You got to look either behind you or straight to the right or left of you, depending on where you are. So perfectly executed there by the Lions defense, and Danielle Ruffin, the junior guard for the Lions, who's been coming off the bench but has been getting caught up to speed this year. The daughter of Daniel Ruffin, the Lions boys head coach, and also former Bradley Brave. Going to be a name to watch going forward. And I do want to apologize for my mess-up. Guyton did play at Indiana, obviously. So little mix-up there. Lots of Peoria High and Bradley connections. Sean Livingston, obviously, didn't go to Bradley, but Peoria legend from
teammates with Ruffin as well in Peoria High.
Indeed, yes.
Ruffin on that great Bradley team that made a Sweet 16 run with Patrick O'Brien, Marcus Somerville as well. So a lot of bloodlines here at Peoria High and Peoria Richwoods as well.
Marcellus Somerville, not Marcus, but we're just tough night for the names so far.
Yeah, it's a
we'll
rough
get
one.
there. We'll get there eventually.
We'll figure it out by the fourth quarter, I'm sure, John. There as Craig Edwards catches the lob inside, unable to get that one to go. Peoria High will reset. Out of bounds, excuse me, that's a foul. That's going to be the third foul in the first quarter on Lexi Bear, the freshman, certainly getting introduced early to the foul trouble as Guyton catch and shoot in the corner. Another three-pointer for Guyton. She is lighting up the stat sheet early here for Peoria High. Nice pass on the delivery by Craig Edwards to set her up. Really nice run play out of bounds there by Peoria High. Now let's see what, as Richwoods looks to answer another turnover there. Ruffin with the ball out in transition, lays it up, unable to get it to go. Hyder now has it, tipped away by Ruffin. Well, she's been all over the court here early, John, off the bench. Now Ross with the ball, does find Hyder. Back to Ross now. She gets an open look from the left wing, off the iron, no good. Edwards with the board out to Ruffin. Loses it momentarily, now has it corralled again. And Peoria High will start the next set on offense.
A good sequence there from the Lions. We saw Ruffin, relentless hustle on defense, almost snuck up there behind Hyder and took it away. Didn't quite get it, but Lions a 12-point lead and a chance to take the last shot. So overall, a really dominant first quarter from the second-ranked team in the state in Class 3A.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're Richwoods, you can look up at the scoreboard, see that you're down 12, but not all is lost. When they've been able to go down the other end, take care of the ball, and get shots, John, they're really getting some quality looks.
Certainly, and I really just some of the hardest. Sometimes where it's really the hardest is just getting the shots off, and once you are able to do that, everything will eventually take care of itself. The ball will obviously go in the hoop sooner or later. As it has a little bit for the Knights. They got that three there from Melissa Ross. That was big. But really, I think the biggest key for the Knights is these fouls right now. You see the Lions already in the bonus for the rest of the first half. 17 fouls for the Knights and just 0 for Peoria High. So, again, that's just that physicality that Peoria High brings.
And Ruffin splits the free throws there. The foul was on number 12 for Richwoods. That's Alana Ross, a junior guard. And that is the end of the first quarter here in the Lions' Den. It is Peoria High 20, Richwoods 7. And really, the stars coming out to play here for Peoria High is Aaliyah Guyton. What a first quarter she had there, John.
Yeah, finishes with 10 points out of Peoria High's 20 as we just get that fixed there on the scoreboard. But, yeah, like you said, Brock, stars are out to play Aaliyah Guyton. It's a big game for her. Obviously, not in her senior year yet, so it's not like this is the last time that she'll ever face Richwoods. But, when you have so much pressure on you, like Guyton, especially, with, the Guyton, bloodline and everything like that, and lots of D1 offers, you got to know that everyone's going to be watching you, college coaches and, other scouts and everything like that. They're going to watch you every game, so you got to bring it, almost every game. Of course, you'll have a couple of those down games here or there, but the more you can stretch together those great performances, it's the reason why she's got so many good offers, and she's been to live up to that pressure and handle it very nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. All eyes are on her every time she laces them up and steps on the court. And to her credit so far through her 3-year career here at Peoria High, has handled all those expectations with flying colors now as we get set to tip off the second quarter here. Peoria High with the ball. The ball in the corner here. A nice trap there by Richwoods, unable to come up with the ball. As Rutherford now and Winters play catch out front with it. Guyton's got it now, and she looks to attack. Kicks out to Ruffin. Now Craig Edwards resets the offense. Winters open in the corner, and there is Craig Edwards inside working. Looks like she's going to get called for, looks like a hook and hold. Offensive foul there on Craig Edwards, her first foul of the night for Peoria High, and the ball will go back to Richwoods down 13.
And stops like that are just what you want there for Richwoods. Opportunity to get points on the other end.
Well, it looks like Hyder missed wide open. I believe that was Hickman down low underneath the rim, and a little bit of a scramble there as Peoria High continuing to trap right in the corners, right as you cross half court, as Guyton gets into the lane, and she's really filling it up. 12 points here as she has outscored Richwoods herself through a quarter and a little bit of change here.
As it's been a little bit too easy for Guyton so far. We'll see if Richwoods maybe brings more double teams, maybe even triple teams. Now the thing with that is, if you do that, Peoria High again has so many other weapons like Craig Edwards. As Guyton, boy, what a move. Fortunately, it won't count. But my word, got that one to go. It seemingly just kind of tossed it up there at the last second. The ball control, really impressive there from Guyton.
Yeah, absolutely. Told Hyder to just get off of her there. A little too much contact. She couldn't believe it when she was whistled as she ended up getting the basket to go. It will not count. 2 stops in a row here for Richwoods. Let's see if they can capitalize and try and cut into this deficit as they're just all out of sorts trying to break this press.
Yeah, it's certainly tough. I don't know if maybe out of sorts is the term, but definitely it's really hard for lots of teams to break the press. It certainly was for Morton, again, a very strong opponent that Peoria High played earlier this year, and Morton was right there with him, and then eventually the Achilles heel for the Potters was that press, that defensive pressure, forcing those turnovers. And as they always say, defense leads to offense, and you can get lots of buckets in transition like the Lions have done so tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and 3 straight sloppy possessions for Peoria High to start the half here. There's another turnover as that ball goes off of Craig Edwards' hands, unable to corral it off a nice little feed from Guyton in the lane. As Richwoods still looking for their first basket of the second quarter here. As Winters doing a nice job of putting pressure on Spratling for Richwoods. As Thomas has it now, loses it and throws it away. And that is ball back to Peoria High.
And you mentioned Spratling there. I haven't mentioned her so far yet tonight, but Elias Spratling for Richwoods, a transfer from Peoria High. So she's suited up for the Lions before. She was all Big 12 second teamer last year for the Knights. She's speedy and really good defensive player. So if you're looking for someone besides Hyder to step up for Richwoods, it could be Spratling as Craig Edwards gets the floater to go.
Nice little move there. Nice touch around the rim from Craig Edwards, up to a 17-point lead here for the Lions. And, rightfully so, Peoria High's offense gets a lot of attention. As we mentioned, 14 of their 18 games this year, they've scored 16 or more points. But they're pretty stingy on the defensive end of the floor too, John, allowing just over 35 points per game. And you're gonna be in a lot of ball games, even if even if your offense isn't there that night. If you can hang your hat on having a defense that can that can really mess up your opponent's game plan and keep them in check every night.
My word, Aaliyah Guyton just knocked down a 3 from the corner while being knocked down. Fell down a little bit after the shot, so no foul called there, but nice shots there on both ends of the floor. Hyder, you saw on the other end, got what we thought was a 3-pointer to go, and instead they called it a deep 2. The ball going in the basket now a little bit more after a slow start offensively in the second quarter.
Guyton with it now again in transition. Too easy for her tonight, John. And by our count up here, I think that's 17 for her already here in the first half, still with just under 4 minutes left to play here, as the lead is ballooned to 20 now for Peoria High, as Hickman unable to get airballs that one in the corner, and now Guyton's got it again in transition.
What a pass.
Flips it to Ruffin. Ruffin throws it away looking for Hickman, Craig Edwards in the paint. That one is flipped up by Thomas, unable to get it to go. Scramble for the ball by Peoria High. Good save there to her own guy by Craig Edwards. And now Peoria High has it. Guyton out front, and she'll slow things down.
Yeah, Guyton's has been the kind of the court general in transition there for Peoria High. Again, she has so much speed and so much good ball control. She knows what to do with the ball in transition, can make it happen with the passing, and she can also bring it in and knock down some threes right there. 20 points now. What a game for Aaliyah Guyton. She keeps this up. I don't know what her career high is, but we could certainly start to maybe enter talks of that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you're Richwoods, if you're head coach Todd Hersey, you've got to be upset. You can't be upset that a player like Aaliyah Guyton's beating you because she's just that good. But what you can be upset about is that she seems to be getting open looks, and the Richwoods defense just unable to find her, whether it be in transition or off those set offensive looks, and she just keeps getting open jumper after open jumper, John.
Yeah, certainly, and I think going back to our keys to the game, I think maybe a little bit could be attributed to the fact that they haven't played in quite some time, and for any basketball player going a couple weeks without seeing that game action is always a little tough. Obviously, you got practices and there's other ways to stay sharp, and and some teams can come out and just not miss a beat, but it is really, really hard to do. But Richwoods, still again a great season so far. They've had 3-0 in the Big 12 Conference. They've had wins over Manual. That was a big win, 59-26. They beat Bloomington 51-24, and then Urbana 51-7. Now, so the three teams that are near the bottom of the Big 12 standings, but still very decisive wins for the Knights. And back to the State Farm Holiday Classic, which was the last 4 games that they played coming into this one. They were the 16 seed in the large school girls bracket. They almost beat number 1 seeded Carmel Catholic from Mundelein in the first round. They only lost 45-41. So Carmel is, one of they're ranked number 6 in the state in class, I believe, 4A. So Richwoods, on their good nights, they can, hang right with anybody.
And certainly, Rust, nothing ever replicates that game action, and I think, could certainly, don't want to say that as an excuse, but certainly could be a contributing factor here to what's going on here, certainly as in the first half at least, as Guyton passes up an open 3 in transition, gets right to the rim, strong move, and she's going to go to the free throw line with a chance to add 21 and 22 to her point total on the night there. Foul is on number 3. Aaliyah Spratling, as John mentioned, the Peoria High transfer, her first foul of the night. Overall, team 8th for Richwoods, as Guyton misses the first of the 2 free throws. Checking in for Peoria High, 13, Trinity Childs, a 5'9" senior.
And really for Peoria High, so many of their baskets that they've gotten tonight came on easy looks, either layups in transition, mostly started with Guyton and sometimes Ruffin and Craig Edwards, or they've gotten them from the free throw line. Again, they've gotten to the line quite a bit here in the first half, so you want to score easy points. Take a lesson from the Peoria High Alliance tonight. They are getting high percentage looks and really haven't seen a ton of half-court sets from them because they've either just gotten on transition or just gotten to the foul line. So not many mid-ranges or anything of that matter.
Good find inside by Spratling. Finds Hickman on the backside. She puts it up. Can't get it to go, but she will go to the free throw line. Just the third foul on the night here for Peoria High. Trinity Childs, who just checked in, the guilty party, picks up her first foul of the night. And Hickman will go to the free throw line here. Has 2 of the 9 Richwood Knights points so far. Misses the first free throw. First free throw there. She has a second one upcoming here. She gets that one to go. 3 points now for Benaya Hickman, the junior center for the Knights. Kind of a wild shot there by Alana Jackson inside. Another offensive rebound. 2 offensive rebounds there for Peoria High as Rutherford now has it, resets it to Guyton up top. And she's calling for a screen from Childs, pulls right into a jumper. Can't quite get that one to go. But another open look there for Aaliyah Guyton as she was looking to continue to add to that scoring total.
Yeah, it's been a great night for her, and interesting story about Aaliyah Guyton, Brock, is her while her father AJ was playing professional basketball, he met another professional basketball player, who he later married, and she was from Brazil, and in Aaliyah's early years, she alternated years living in the United States and Brazil, as Childs gets one to go there. But it would be like, 1 year, 1 grade she would live in America with her mom, or with AJ, I should say, and then 1 year she'd go down to Brazil with her mom where she was playing professionally, and she just bounced back and forth because that's where her parents were for basketball purposes and everything like that. And it's crazy enough, she's fluent in both English and Portuguese, the native language in Brazil, and her mom played for Brazil in the 2016 Olympics. So interesting story there for Aaliyah Guyton, just going back and forth between the two countries. You don't see that too often in high school basketball, and she's been able to thrive wherever she's gone.
What a story there, Johnny. Certainly, if you're you talk a lot about genes and bloodlines, and that's certainly about as favorable for being a good basketball player as you can ask for, and it's paying off here as she's one of the top players in the state. As Craig Edwards was able to get a 3 to go on the other end, it's 38-10 in favor of Peoria High, as Peoria Richwoods really looked out of sorts these last couple possessions, as Peoria High really cranked up the intensity and has been the way more aggressive team here early, John.
Yeah, they really have. And, you notice that Peoria High, they've been the first to the loose balls. They've been just kind of maybe not dominating, but they've got a lot of offensive rebounds tonight, lots of second chances, and just overall playing more physical, playing more fast, more inspired here. And they're defending their home court, and they're defending their Big 12 win streak and their overall win streak, coming in with 10 straight wins. They look to be in great position to do so here again tonight.
Yeah, putting the rest of the Big 12 on notice that this conference is going to run through the Lions' Den this year once again, after a 10-0 slate last year that resulted in a first place overall, off to a 3-0 start this year. Here at halftime, 38-10, and boy, John, if you're Peoria Richwoods, it's back to the drawing board, and you got to figure out a way to take the ball out of Aaliyah Guyton's hands, or at least contain her here in the second half, if you want any shot of chipping into this lead.
Yeah, certainly, and obviously, anytime you play Peoria High, it's tough for reasons that we've mentioned quite a bit so far. But you want to get some things going, find some ways to break their press, and find some ways to avoid that defensive pressure that Peoria High has been bringing. But overall, just want to get more people involved. We'd like to see maybe a little bit more of Cameron Hyder, Lexi Bear, who was in foul trouble for a lot of first half. So we'll see what's up with the Knights coming back into the second half, and we'll see what the halftime talk from Todd Hersey was, if the Knights can fulfill it.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll find all that here and more in as the second half will get ready to start here in just under 9 minutes from the Lions' Den. The score 38-10, Peoria High over Richwoods at the half. We'll be right back on Clutch Sports Media. Welcome back here to the Lions Den as we get set to tip off the second half of the night's contest in the Big 12 Conference between the Peoria High Lions and the Richwood Knights. Score a little bit lopsided there in that first half as Peoria High jumped out to a 38-10 lead behind some stingy defense, a lot of offense, and just really no answers from Peoria Richwoods. And before we get started here in the third quarter, we'd like to take a look at the Big 12 standings, and my broadcast partner Jonathan Michael will be able to break those down for you. Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's just been a great, year for the Big 12 girls. You got 4 teams that are undefeated. Obviously, 2 of them here playing tonight. But you look at normal community, you can make the case that all these Peoria schools like Peoria Notre Dame, Peoria High, Peoria Richwoods, all of them are really good. They got community up there. They're undefeated, 18-0. So really just 4 great squads at the top of the Big 12 this year. And then you got Champaign Central and Urbana, a couple others down there trying to, obviously make some headway into it. But it's going to be really tough as Richwoods gets a 3 to go there. But as the top half of the conference is just really, really strong this year. How about the Ironmen down in Normal Community this year?
Yeah, well represented and no easy victories despite those teams even at the bottom of the conference standings. That can certainly change with a good 2 or 3 game stretch. And Peoria High did get the scoring started here to kick off the second half as Cameron Hyder did bury a 3 for Peoria Richwoods. She's up to 5 points now, the leading scorer for Richwoods here as they have as they look to recreate what Peoria High did to them in the first half, trapping the corners on their prep. As Craig Edwards off the offensive rebound. Nice feed there as she gets the basket to go. 40-13 in favor of the Lions. As Guyton hounding Hyder out front. And Ruffin doing the same thing to Jackson, number 4 for the Knights. And Lexi Bear, the freshman guard, missed a lot of that first half with foul trouble, and boy did they miss her. She's up to 5 now as she gets a triple to go. John, a couple back-to-back baskets there for Peoria Richwoods.
Yeah, obviously it's great to see the ball go in the bucket for them. 2 threes in the half already. They had 1 in the first half, missed 3 there from Craig Edwards. But you mentioned it. If they can give Peoria High a little taste of their own medicine and start beating them to loose balls, beating them to offensive rebounds, and getting some putbacks, maybe some and ones. You're going to maybe chip into this lead a little bit. It would certainly take a lot, especially when you're going up against Aaliyah Guyton and company, but, it's certainly not impossible.
And Guyton out in transition once again. Richwoods doesn't find her. Good find there, and Guyton glides to the rim, lays it in. 42-16 in favor of Peoria High, as Ruffin forces Jackson to pick it up, and the count is on now. Really good on-ball defense from these Peoria High guards, really making life difficult for Jackson and Hyder all night, John.
Yeah, definitely, and, lots of guards for Peoria High, that can really just get it done on both sides of the ball. Nyasha Rutherford has played good defense. Serena Winters, I haven't mentioned her as much, but she's kind of that glue girl for Peoria High. Doesn't really get a ton of stats, but plays really good defense, and that obviously leads to either her or her teammates putting up those stats that you see in the scorebook. So, you can't underestimate the ability of Winters or Danielle Ruffin, who's played some great defense as well tonight. The junior has been all over the place, making life hard around the perimeter for the Knights.
And what a luxury it is for Peoria High when you can play Guyton like that at the top of that zone. Really get her hands up at 5'10" with a lot of length. Can really disrupt things both on the ball and off the ball in the passing lanes. As Bear catch and shoot with another one there. Oh, can't quite get that one to go. As Craig Edwards clears, gets it up ahead. And Nyasia Rutherford gets loose in transition. And she's up to 8 points now for the Lions. And excuse me, Peoria Richwoods, the number 4 in black is Adriana Barber. Want to clear that up, was getting those names mixed up here. Rough night for names as Craig Edwards with the swipe, with the run out and transition. Easy layup there for Craig Edwards as she joins her teammate Guyton now in double figures with 10 for the 6-foot senior.
And it's another easy look there for Peoria High, and they almost come away with another turnover there, but leading by 30 here, and actually made that 27 after the three there from Cameron Hyder. But as we get deeper into this one, and if Peoria High can keep the foot on the gas, as they do right there, how about it? Danielle Ruffin sinks the three and the lead back up to 30 points now. But as I was saying, we get a rare break in play here. It's kind of something that I saw last night when I was covering the Bradley versus Evansville game. There was a point in the second quarter, or the second half rather, where the Braves it was just pure intimidation at that point. I mean, they were just saying like, hey, we're gonna do what we do best. We're gonna do everything actually, and try and stop us. We're gonna throw everything at you, and we'll have a little bit of fun. And I think at that point you get that momentum building, and you just kind of everything just snowballs from there. That's kind of where it's been for Peoria High, but I have liked what I've seen from Richwoods here in this second half. They got a couple threes to go. Hyder is starting to pick up the pace now. She's got 8 for the Knights. So not all is lost for Richwoods, certainly just running into a stonewall with Peoria High's defense.
Yeah, Peoria High has been a code that is uncrackable so far this year. Unless you're Peoria, Notre Dame, and O'Fallon, they're only 2 losses this year. Obviously, Peoria, Notre Dame, fellow member of the Big 12 Conference. O'Fallon, combined record between those schools this year, 33-4 record. So has taken some very quality opponents, very high-quality opponents, not even just quality, high-quality opponents to beat this Peoria High squad this year.
Yeah, and O'Fallon is the top-ranked school in the receiving votes category for Class 4A, so you could make the case that they're the number 11 team in the state in Class 4A. Obviously, Peoria High plays in 3A, but O'Fallon a great team, and then P&D obviously ranked right behind Peoria High in Class 3A at number 3, and both those losses were back-to-back in the span of 3 days, December 1st through the 3rd, and you take those out, Peoria High is right there with normal community, undefeated.
As they have the ball here, as Ruffin in the corner looking for her 3rd straight basket. Guyton gets it back off the kick out, off the offensive rebound kick out, unable to get it to go. And John, when you look at this Peoria High roster, it certainly has the makings of one that can make a run come March. You've got the star player in Aaliyah Guyton. You've got that dominating post presence in Denali Craig Edwards. You've got the good guards in Nyesha Rutherford, as well as Serena Winters. And then when you add the bench depth with Danielle Ruffin off the bench, who's given you 8 points tonight, that certainly has, as a team that has all the makings of a team that can make a tournament run in March.
Yeah, definitely. And, what a lot of people say, or at least what I say is, great players will get you success in the regular season, but great teams really come out in the postseason. And, it's obviously you've played so many games that your body's a little bit more worn down, and you need depth, and you need, scorers and defenders to come in from all corners of your roster. And, Peoria High certainly has that. Again, as they're trying to make a deep run into the state playoffs, which has been surprisingly a little bit lacking for them in the last couple of years, given their recent success. But certainly I think, if the pieces can fall into place, Peoria High could very well be holding up a trophy of some sort down in Champaign.
Yeah, John, I think when I was looking back at the history and the record books, I think the thing that I was most surprised with is not only has Peoria High never won a state title, they've never even placed top 4 in the state, John. That's just that's crazy to me when you think about a guy when you have a guy like Michi Edwards on the sidelines in his 17th year with all that experience. Like I mentioned, there's one spot in his trophy case that he's got cleaned off. It's waiting. It's certainly for a state title or a state placing along those lines. So, certainly if you're Michi Edwards, this could be as good a time as any, and the team to take him over the hump and get him that coveted state title trophy.
Could be, and the Lions, they could join their the boys team as potential state champions. You see here on the court. The Lions, they'll be coming in your frame here just a second lower right of your screen. They have all the years they've won the state championship, 1908, 1977, then 03, 04, and 2012. There's also pictures of all of them there up on the wall as Jay Harris, first time I've called her name tonight, gets the and one to go. So more positive momentum for the Knights. They got down 30-32, but they're showing some fight, which, you know, especially at this point in the game against a really tough opponent, sometimes it's the best you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you don't want to see them roll over, and I think that's the one thing that, you know, that Todd Hersey is going to take out of this game is how they respond here and keep playing in the second half, even as, you know, this game has kind of gotten out of hand as his players, even those ones that are 6th, 7th on the depth chart deep down the bench, are they going to come in, play hard, and cut into this lead here?
Nice find there down low for Alana Jackson. Action Jackson, they call her. She's another player, again, starter for Peoria High. Doesn't really get as many of the headlines. She almost comes away with a steal there. But really, they're kind of their defensive specialists. We talked about how good their guards were offensively, and Jackson, 5'8", plays maybe a little bit more of the forward position, so maybe not included as much with the guards. But again, a really great defender that fits in well with this Peoria team.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, going back to Richwoods for a second, John, I think, you know, as silly as it sounds, I almost think you can learn more about a team after a big loss than you can after a big win. You know, see how your team responds, how they play in that second half, and, you know, just really, you know, positive momentum here for Peoria Richards. I think that's what it's going to be about here in the last 10 seconds in the third quarter and the last 8 minutes in the fourth. There is Harris throws up a shot, air ball, and Peoria High will get the last shot, and it's Guyton with the ball in her hand. Fires a three, and that is no good as we go to the fourth quarter. 53-25 in favor of Peoria High, as it looks like Peoria High, the writing might be on the wall here. Looks like they are going to improve to 4-0 in Big 12 conference play. Obviously 8 minutes left to decide the final outcome, but certainly a statement win here by Peoria High against fellow unbeaten Big 12 foe of the Richwoods Knights.
Yeah, Peoria High, they've just, you know, been rolling ever since that their game against Richwoods back on December 6th. That's where their current win streak started. It's now at 10 games, looking to be 11 here. If they can hold on tonight, and they're in great position to do so. But perhaps even more impressive, Brock, is, you know, Peoria High, they haven't had a lot of losses the last couple of years. Michi Edwards has led the squad to an 81-11 record since the 2018 and 2019 season. And in those 11 losses, a few of them have came against Big 12 opponents. Not many, but a few of them have. But all of those losses against Big 12 opponents have been in non-designated conference games. So in games that count in the Big 12 standings, Peoria High has won 30 in a row going back at least a couple years. I forgot to write down the exact year, but it has been 30 in a row. Actually, it was back in 2019, to be exact. December 7th against Normal Community was their last loss in a conference game that counted in the standings and designated as a conference game. So that's quite the streak for the Lions, and looks like could get up to 31.
John, that's why they pay the big bucks. Look at that stat, going way back. And, you know, since we're going way back with the stats, John, I got one here for you.
Oh, boy.
You know, Peoria Richwoods, like we mentioned, you know, one of the more storied programs in Central Illinois with 4 state titles in 83, 2005, and 09, and then 2018 under current head coach Todd Hersey. But how about the Mary Kate Hungate era in Peoria Richwoods basketball? You want to talk about domination from 1978 to 1985. A 7-year span, they were 198-12 with a state title, 2 second-place finishes, and a third-place finish. And, you know, that's really one of the most, you know, 7-year periods of dominance I've ever heard in any level of basketball, really.
Yeah, certainly. It kind of almost rivals Morton and what Bob Becker's been able to do with the Potters. Just insane year after insane year, but you got to wonder, maybe they'll build a Mary Kate Hungate statue outside of Richwood High School someday. Who knows?
She certainly deserves one. There is Peoria Notre Dame just playing a little bit of catch out front. as they are really just hunting for good shots as Craig Edwards likes that one, takes it. Unable to get it to go. Nice hustle there by Ruffin, corralling, like the smallest player on the court, corralling the offensive board, relocates to the corner, air balls, takes a spill into the crowd. Here is Bayer with an awkward move there as she gets called for the travel. She goes banging into Serena Winters. There's a little bit of, like we said, awkward move there from Lexi Bayer, who missed most of that first half in foul trouble, had 3, knocked down a basket here in the second half, up to 5 points for the promising freshman for the Knights.
And Brock, going back to Richwood's streak of success, the last couple of years has been really just great to them. Todd Hersey has led the squad from the 2016 and 17 season to 2019 and 2020. All 4 years in that time span, they had at least 27 wins as Rutherford gets the 3 to drop. But 4 straight years of 27 or more wins is certainly something to celebrate. So obviously, last 2 years have been a little bit more kind of a little bit more rebuilding years for Richwoods, comparatively speaking. Again, it's still a very talented squad this year that we'll definitely keep an eye on in the Big 12 Conference. It's anybody's race. Richwoods, even with a loss tonight, they're still going to be right up there at the top. Normal Community and Peoria Notre Dame as well. Anything can happen when 2 Peoria City teams face off in any sport, especially basketball. So,
yeah, absolutely. And Richwoods has shown that they are able to get hot in spurts this year. They entered this game on a 2-game win streak. They were just 3-3 in their last 6 games before, or they're 3-3 in their last 6 games. Sorry, on a 2-game win streak. But they were on a 6-game win streak before that last 6-game stretch. So Richwood certainly has shown an ability to win and win in bunches. So certainly a team, as you mentioned, John, keep an eye on here in the Big 12 as this season really is just in the 4th game of conference play, as this season's just getting started.
Yeah, certainly. And, look at the calendar, we're pretty much coming almost past the halfway point of the regular season, but lots of conference games still left to be played. Lots of, all your holiday tournaments and everything are all behind you. So this is where you really got to start to get going as Alana Ross gets things going for Richwoods. Just want to clarify that's Alana Ross with 1 N. There's 2 Alana Rosses on this Richwoods team. That Ross that just hit the 3 was Alana with 1 N, the junior guard that's 5'4". And there's a sophomore guard also named Alana Ross with 2 N's, a sophomore guard at 5'5". No word on yet on if they're related or not.
Yeah, John, a lot of confusion up here tonight when we saw that in the scorers program. I kind of looked at John and I said, I don't know if this is right, if they're the same person or what's going on here. But yes, we do have 2 Alana Rosses on the roster.
And also Alyssa Ross as well, who I believe that Alyssa and Alana 1N Ross, we'll call her, believe they're twins. They're both junior guards, 5'4".
Boy, the letterman, if Peoria Richwoods had names on the back of their jerseys, would be in for a treat when he saw the 3 Rosses and the 2 Alanas, one with 1 N, one with 2 N's.
Alyssa would be ALY.Ross, but with the other Alanas, you have to pretty much spell out their entire names on the back of their jersey. That'd be kind of a flex, I think, having both your first and last name.
Absolutely. Pay for those extra letters. There's looks like Peoria Richwoods starting to empty the bench here. Is number 11. That is Alyssa Ross into the game now. I do believe I can't quite see the number. It could be 31. It could be Michaela Burrell. I think it's 31 Burrell for Richwood. Checks into the game now. The junior forward getting a little bit of minutes here as we are under 3 to play. And Serena Winters gets involved in the scoring, her first basket of the game.
And Winters, you mentioned her first basket. Came on a pretty floater, so maybe Peoria High wants her to shoot a little bit more, but again, Winters a starter on this Lions squad that does all it's asked of her, and on a good team like Peoria High, it doesn't matter who you are or how many points you score. Means that you're playing good basketball if you're starting for the number 2 ranked team in the state in Class 3A. And Alana Jackson almost got one to go. Got called for a travel. Michi Edwards doesn't like that, but they're still up 28. I don't think the lead's in much grave danger unless they make a big rule change, make a 28-point shot, maybe a shot from the top corner of the bleachers down into the hoop. I don't know. I'm not sure what would constitute a 28-point shot.
This gym is pretty big. There's some weird angles. A shot up here from the corner of the balcony certainly seems like it should be worth more than just 3, as Burrell there for Richwoods gets her first basket of the night off the bench.
And it looks like, obviously, the running clock, as we've been in for a little bit, gets a break here. Time out here to get some subs in. I got an idea, Brock. Obviously, as giving you directions to come in to the gym here at Peoria High tonight, I, said, park in the parking lot next to I-74. How about if you make a shot from I-74? If you can, get out there by the highway and maybe stand in the median or even on one of the bridges, just chuck one, maybe that'd be worth 28 points.
It's
a wild proposition, I know.
You got to come up something out there. It's got to be worth 28, you would think.
Well, now they only need 26, so maybe you can at least maybe move on to school property.
Yeah, I like that idea, John. And when you look, just going back to the game here really quickly, when you look up and down the Peoria High roster tonight, by my count, I think it's 7 or 8 players that have gotten in this game tonight have scored. So really great depth, and any given night, obviously Guyton's going to steal the headlines, as we mentioned, 23 points for her on what was a really big night. But you look at Craig Edwards, she had 10. Rutherford chipped in with 11. Ruffin off the bench with 8. So great multiple scoring options and weapons for this Peoria High team to lean on if Guyton has one of those uncharacteristic off nights for her.
Yeah, certainly, and it's a Peoria High team that there's only 9 players on their roster, so everybody plays a big role as Bear gets another pretty shot to fall. That's what I've seen from Bear in the second half when she hasn't been saddled with as much foul trouble. But going back to Peoria High again, a lot is asked of these 9 girls here on the varsity squad. Looks like maybe a 10th, number 23. Looks like they're wearing sophomore jersey. That would be Eloise Patrick, freshman forward, as Knights get another bucket to go. So even some of the JV players getting some action for the Lions tonight. Well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are valuable minutes, no matter how few they be, when you could come into a varsity game, get a little bit of experience playing at that speed and at that pace as an underclassman. You certainly value all that time you can get with the varsity team.
Certainly always got to relish those opportunities. And Brock, I want to take a quick look at who both these teams have coming up on the schedule. Richwoods, they will take on undefeated Normal Community, so a tough back-to-back stretch of undefeateds for them. They'll play them on Tuesday, followed by a game on Thursday against Champaign Central. Then they travel to Dunlap, one of the best squads in the Mid-Illini this year. So good games coming up for the Richwoods Knights. We're going to play Champaign Centennial on Saturday. That game has been canceled, so they'll get some more time to rest, and hopefully, obviously, they'll hope that they come in with a little bit less rust off of them with Normal Community. And then coming up next for Peoria, they have a game against an out-of-state opponent in Pattonville, followed by the number 3 ranked P&D, number 4 ranked Lincoln, and then number 5 in Class 4A, Normal Community. What a series of games they're going to have, but what a performance tonight. 19-point win.
Yeah, not a whole lot of excitement. I don't know if it's excitement, but not a whole lot of nail biting in this one, as Peoria High really had this game over, it felt like, after the first quarter. But I do want to say something about Richwoods. 2 players I was really impressed with tonight, Cameron Hyder and Lexi Bear. Hyder, the junior, it was a unanimous Big 12 first teamer last year, and Lexi Bear, the freshman. I think those are 2 foundational building blocks for this Richwoods program going forward. 2 big games for them tonight. 12 points for Hyder, and 8 points for Bear to lead the way for Richwoods. And then, for Peoria High, John, it was the Aaliyah Guyton show really from the first tip, and it continued until she got pulled in the third quarter.
Yeah, definitely. And, starting with Richwoods, obviously lots of reasons to, be optimistic for the future. Again, I can't believe we're going to talk about this the entire broadcast. I just noticed it, but Richwoods only one senior on their roster, and then Khalees Thomas. Everybody else is either a junior, a sophomore, or a freshman. So this Richwoods team is going to be very, very good the rest of this year, and even more so next year. Who knows? Next year the Knights could be like this year's version of the Peoria High Lions, who just, like you said, domination in the first half. They kind of obviously were able to let up a little bit in the second half. Don't want to get Guyton or Craig Edwards, any of your stars hurt, but boy, Aaliyah Guyton really led the charge for Peoria High. Really just, found opportunities for her teammates, and really they were the more physical, the more defensive team, and they got lots of good high percentage looks, both at the free throw line and in transition. I think that was the biggest difference maker here at the Lions Den tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that first quarter, just the way Peoria High came out, really blitzed Richwoods, got good looks, made things difficult for them on the offensive end of the floor. I really think Peoria High just really, punched Richwoods in the mouth really from the first tip. Richwoods was never really able to respond in that first half. Showed a little bit of life, which was really nice to see in the second half. Really, in that fourth quarter as well, down 20-30. So certainly, a great all-around round performance for Peoria High tonight. A tough pill for Richwoods to swallow, but certainly look to rebound in their next game. Peoria High improves to 17-2 on the year, now 4-0 in the Big 12 conference play. Peoria Richwoods slips to 11-9. Their unbeaten streak in the Big 12 conference play to start the year comes to an end as they fall to 3-1. That is it tonight from the Lions Den, 58-39. Peoria High beats Richwoods. That is all. Thank you, and catch us next time on Clutch Sports Media.